welcome to the Switchrpg podcast. I am one of your hosts, Gio, and I'm joined by Just Johnny. What's going on?
It's going good.
It's going good.
We are rocking some awesome shirts, man.
Oh, we are. I mean,
I am a little jealous about your shirt.
I actually,
Yours is pretty good.
I've been building up my Metroid collection. Yeah. I just got a new amiibo, Dark Samus, and
That's right, Dark Samus is up, and Richter.
And Richter, I got Richter as well.
I need to get Richter.
Yeah. You mentioned Richter. It just got me thinking. The Netflix series. I started actually watching the anime Castlevania.
Castlevania.
Yeah, absolutely love that series. Have you watched it?
You kidding me?
Okay, how many? I mean, I'm going through it.
I watched season 1 and 2, which that's it. That's all there is.
That's all
season
there
1's
is.
not really a season.
Yeah, I think there are like 3 episodes there. I watched. Yeah, I'm going 4 episodes.
4 in season 1. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no.
And 8 on season 2.
Second time through in the second season.
You watched it twice.
I love it.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah. The second season is phenomenal. First season's like a good teaser.
Right. And that's what I think that's what it was. It was kind of like a little taste. See if people like it. Yeah. Putting feelers out there.
What's the word? There's a word for that in TV industry. Pilot.
Bingo.
It was a pilot.
It was definitely
season
a pilot.
2 was like proof that they could hit it, and all the little subtle references, the Castlevania references that they inserted into there.
Well, I mean, it is Castlevania, but I don't want to spoil it, but you guys have had enough time. Yeah. The Bloody Tears battle, I'll just call it that. Oh man, when this started playing in the background, I'm like, this is freaking phenomenal.
I loved how Trevor was referencing like, this belonged to my ancient great whatever grandfather Leon, and I'm like, yes, they're like talking about Leon Belmont, and also
it's very well done, and it sticks to its kind of source material. It's really, really good, and that's when you mentioned Richter, and I'm like, I love that show. It's
funny you're mentioning this stuff because I have my Bite Me mug.
Bite Me mug. Oh,
with the vampire teeth.
I know we're getting off the rails here. I also started watching Dracula. It's kind of the BBC series.
How is that? Whoa, the Netflix Dracula?
It's on Netflix, but I think it's just distributed by BBC.
Okay.
So it's like I think 3 episodes, kind of like Sherlock.
That's it?
Yeah.
It's only 3 episodes.
It's only 3 episodes, hour and a half.
It's supposed to be based on the Bram Stoker story.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the first episode. I've been told to stick with it. It gets better, type of thing. So.
Oh, so you haven't finished it?
I have not finished it.
So the first episode is an hour and a half.
Yeah, they're all about an hour and a half. I don't know if you watched Sherlock with.
So it's long. It's just only 3 iterations.
Right.
3 long.
Yeah, that's how
iterations.
BBC, for whatever reason, that's how they do it.
Kind of like It.
Yeah.
The 90s.
Yeah, the mini. That was kind of a mini series. Yeah, and that's essentially what this is.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, I've been watching that. I've been doing a little more TV because I haven't been able to play. I've been sick. Yeah. I've been dying.
Usually when you're sick, you play a lot of games.
I couldn't.
I play a lot of games.
I was just miserable. I was so miserable. I'm still kind of sick now.
You don't even have to get up. You just get the Switch and you lay in bed.
Yeah, but you also got to remember, I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
It's like impossible. Hey, go home and rest, the doctor says. Yeah, okay. Who's going to watch my kids? No, it ain't happening. So gameplay, it was a little light for, the last probably week or 2.
So you didn't play anything?
No, I definitely did. I've been definitely ramped it up tremendously.
So what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? I've been playing a lot, actually, recently. Still doing Divinity Original Sin.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever put that game down. But I've been playing a CRPG called Ember.
Yep.
It was a mobile game initially. I think it came out maybe 2016. So it's about 4 years old, and they finally ported it over to the Switch.
How's the movement mechanics? Is it drive or point and click?
It is drive.
Okay.
It's not like I think in is it Baldur's Gate, kind of the newer ones that it's kind of, you can do either or. I think in that one.
Yeah, you can.
You can have kind of a classic point and click style, I guess, or you can have the drive where, one person moves and the party kind of follows.
Yeah, and there's kind of good benefits to both of them.
Yeah.
Drive is sort of like a go-to, then when you need finer control, you're kind of glad it has the point and click stuff still there.
Right. But this one's definitely a driver, and I've kind of come to a conclusion, and it's taken me a long time, that I'm not a big fan of CRPGs. I think they're very much...
Is this a CRPG that's set in the old ways, or is this like reflective of modern day CRPGs?
No.
Because there is a big difference.
No. When I think of CRPGs, I'm talking Pillars of Eternity is probably the most recent CRPG I can think of. But then you have your Neverwinter. Is it Neverwinter? Baldur's Gate. It's kind of your older Ultima, maybe. I'm sorry.
You said one earlier.
What was that?
Divinity.
Well,
which you've still playing.
Now with Divinity, I don't classify that as a CRPG.
Absolutely a CRPG.
It is not. It is more turn-based tactical than it is a CRPG with a driver mechanic and having to pause between every action yourself, which is, I think, the most obnoxious feature in a CRPG is just constantly having to almost micromanage it kind of like a faux real-time action. Or
relying on the smartness of your allies.
And that's I think the biggest problem is the party AI is generally not that good. Yeah. Whereas in Divinity, it's all player controlled.
Well, I think sad to say that CRPGs, which by the way, you probably just haven't been playing the good ones. Like
which ones?
Dragon Age Origins.
Okay.
Origins.
Not
the second one, and definitely not the
Inquisition?
third one. Inquisition. Forget about Inquisition.
Inquisition was
not a CRPG.
It's not a CRPG. It was an okay game, though.
No, it wasn't.
It was an okay game.
It was a great example of a game that was... let's not get into it. It was not a great game.
You mean overhyped type of game?
Very much overrated. Because it won like Game of the Year at some places.
No, I don't think it was Game of the Year quality. I think it was an okay game.
It was bad. It was full of just filler. There
was definitely a lot of filler. I know. I could see that. Yeah.
Anytime there's filler, like that's it. Your game is like almost dead to me.
And that is
mandatory filler. Like, no, don't do that.
No, don't.
If it's optional, like side quests, right? I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I really like meaningful side quests, and that's kind of hard to come by.
Yeah. And if the core of a game is great, then I'll stick around and play the side quest. Mm-hmm. But if the core of the game isn't great, then if it's at least good enough that I can beeline it and skip all the filler stuff,
right,
then I'll stick with it. But.
Or if side quests are there just either to pad the game out or to just help you attain a certain level, really no meaningful tactics there.
I think the driver mechanic doesn't really work as well as you would like when you're playing on console for a CRPG. But Dragon Age Origins, right? It's very quick to queue up. It's to sort of hit spacebar, you pause the action, you hit, I don't know if it was the F keys or the 1, 2, 3, 4 keys for changing up your party members, and then selecting their ability, targeting whatever enemy you want, and then quickly switching to the next one, queuing up your next attack, and then you hit the spacebar, you watch all of your actions unfold in real time. After everyone finishes everything, then poof, voila, and some of the smarter CRPGs allow for queuing up multiple sequences of attacks. So you can plan ahead by doing that.
I don't know that I'm a fan of that aspect of it. It's just a kind of plan, and then let it happen. I'd rather just do something, they react. Do something, they react. Again, your quintessential turn-based kind of stuff.
Well, that does happen. That's the same thing as Divinity. I mean...
Right, and I think that's where I think there's a big difference. That's one of the biggest differences.
Well, just think of those types of CRPGs that aren't turn-based. Just think of them as being the same exact system, except you have full control over the speed at which the turns play out.
Yeah. I guess
because it does happen faster. It happens way faster. Like when you're going through the attacks, going through a battle. I feel like that's done and over with on a battle on a CRPG like Dragon Age Origins way quicker than you are in Divinity.
Right.
Divinity is funner by a landslide.
Right.
But Dragon Age Origins was great.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's just maybe it's just that kind of combat style. I'm just not with it.
No, I'm
Not
with
for
you.
me.
I think the encounters are just lackluster on most CRPGs. I think your issue is just you're not playing great CRPGs.
The great ones, yeah. And that could be it.
Because I think the barrier to entry is already so high on a CRPG that it needs to be excellent in order to not lose a CRPG curious player.
And not only that, for me, I'm not a PC player, so it needs to translate well to console, which is probably even more difficult, I would imagine, going from a CRPG, which is really meant to play on a keyboard.
And mouse. Most importantly is the mouse.
Right, a keyboard and mouse to a console or a controller. To map those, that's got to be quite a challenge.
It's
and maybe that's where I'm getting lost in all this mess. Is just that translation. If it's not done well, I'm not for it.
Yeah. And there is the opposite, right? When you're getting the more action-oriented console RPGs and you're trying to bring that over to PC keyboard and mouse, they just do not work at all. Like, try playing any of the Souls games on keyboard and mouse. You won't, and if you think you did or can, you're wrong.
Wait, I've seen people play it on, like, Dance Dance Revolution mats.
They're just challenging themselves. But, like, is it the ideal way to play?
Oh, definitely
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
You need that tactile kind of controller
Same
feel.
thing with, like, Monster Hunter. Like, no, if it's an action game, you want the controls. But if it's a turn-based game, in general, like having the option of having all these extra buttons, being able to map things, but it really, I don't see that as being an issue of console versus PC. It's more of the interface, yes, the controller, yes, to a certain degree, but if you're clever enough as a developer, you could just develop a control system that is versatile enough and intuitive enough to work with however it is that your game plays. Right.
Yeah, and just I don't know that there have been many to do that. Divinity, I think, is probably the most well translated.
It could be. It could be just kind of laziness, because it is a lot of effort. Like you may have to redo huge portions,
and that's definitely what it is.
Not only just the button mappings, the UI, the targeting system is a huge thing when making a game, and you're trying to sort of make the targeting system feel as right as it can. You might have to just redo entire animation sets because of that, just to get the feel of it right.
And that's a ton of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. And when you're porting over something and you have to rethink things like core fundamental design things, and you're scratching your head, and
and from what I understand with Ember, that's kind of it was a passion project for, I think, one person. So for that one person to do all that stuff, probably not going to go through it.
Yeah, if it was successful, I don't know if it was or wasn't. I'm just saying, if it was successful, perhaps that one person or that small team could have invested their initial success on mobile and invested it with a few more devs to assist with proper porting over to a traditional console control system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm liking it. It works well because there are different options where I can pause the battle with every interaction. So I can pause it between enemy attacks or whatever. So there's some of that where it can almost make it feel like it's a turn-based battle, but still, for me, they're just kind of way too clunky for me. I've also been playing kind of on the total opposite end of the spectrum, To the Moon, which is almost...
To the Moon?
To the Moon. Have you played To the Moon?
No, but that's old, and that's an
even older
indie
one.
Game, man.
Yep, I think 2011 that was it came out. I would say it's less of an RPG and more of a visual novel.
Yeah.
Than anything. I think what really got me is the visual presentation of it, and then also the music is phenomenal. I don't know who the composer is, but he did a really, really good job, and I think they actually recommend that you listen to the game with headphones, just because the music is just really, really, really good, and it's got a lot of emotion involved in it, and it's actually an emotional type of game. I don't know if you've played it. But it's a very emotionally driven game. So having headphones on definitely makes sense.
Short game too.
Yeah, I think it's about 5 hours. Yeah, it's not long at all. I want to say I paid $10 $10 for it, which is a little more than I would have paid for it had I known it didn't have any combat. Or like you want to talk RPG light? They just, I don't know how or why they put that category in there in the eShop, but they did it and they got me. But nonetheless, the
RPGs don't need combat to be an RPG.
I understand that, but there's really, other than reading pixel art, there's nothing else going on in that game. So, it's more, like I said, it's more of an aesthetic kind of a visual novel type of game. But good. But a good game. And Skell Boy. Skell Boy is, I don't think that's come out quite yet. I think that comes out the end of this month. And we're also doing, on the Discord, we're doing an AMA with the developers for Skell Boy. So I started playing Skell Boy. It's a Paper Mario aesthetic, kind of like I guess you could call it Paper Mario, maybe?
I would say it looks more like a 3D dot Game Hero, I think is the name of the game. It was like an old PS3 game.
All right.
It was kind of like a Zelda-like, but it was it used voxels.
Yeah.
So it had like voxel graphics. So it looked like it was 3D models that looked like 2D sprites.
Yeah, and that's essentially what this game. It's more of a hack and slash. You can put on different body parts. That's your RPG mechanic, I guess. And there's some puzzling and some platforming. It's another one of those shorter type of game. I think the game is about 10 to 12 hours. I put about 5 into it, but it's an okay game. The music in it is really, really, really good. It's kind of got the 8-bit kind of chiptune type of music in it. So the music is really good, but the combat is a little light for me. It's not, I need my sword fighting.
Well, if you have combat, you got to do it good, right?
Yeah, and it's okay. It definitely needs a day one patch. I don't know what's involved in that day one patch. I've already gotten trapped and stuck in so many different things where, if that lamppost was just a little bit closer to the wall and I wasn't able to get behind it, I wouldn't have gotten stuck there type of stuff. So there's some of that going on. But that was probably all within probably 3 or 4, maybe 4 days time, all that gameplay.
Wow.
Because I was down and out. I had and I'm still kind of sick, a double ear infection. I thought I had pneumonia for a while. I didn't, thankfully, but I mean, I was feeling hurt. So, so feeling much better. Played a lot of games recently. What have you been playing? You had a lot of time to yourself.
Yeah. Well,
not really.
I'm starting to lose my my availability for time, but I did play and beat Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus on Switch.
I haven't beat or complete a game in so long. I'm so proud of you.
I'm just like beating a new game every week, at least one new game. Maybe I'll continue this trend. I'm actually getting pretty close to the beating the Outer World.
Nice.
But Wolfenstein 2, man, is that a great game.
Is it really?
That is so good. It is such a great game. Nothing's better than killing Nazis.
Oh, yeah, no, you can't. Yeah, no doubt about it.
The best Nazi killing game. I can definitely say that. The best one I've ever played.
What other ones are there?
Wolfenstein 3D, Wolfenstein, The New Order. Anytime you can kill a Nazi. Yes. All the Wolfensteins.
Yeah.
It was really good. The graphics side of the Switch, so what they do is they play videos for the cutscenes.
All right.
So you're getting the premium look of the graphics, and then when it transitions out of that, it's not actually as jarring as you think when you're actually playing the game itself, except for the characters. So for some reason, the character models and mostly the textures on the characters seem like overly low resolution, but it's actually not that bad. And the frame rate is, or at least it seems like it's pretty stable. It's not 60, it's definitely 30.
As long as it's steady.
It seems like it's steady. I don't know for certain if it's steady, but visually, I was actually impressed overall how the game looked on the Switch, just playing through and shooting, and it felt good. It's fast. It is a fast-paced
Really?
first-person shooter. Yeah, it's really fast.
Kind of snuck up on you a little bit.
Like
at first, maybe.
It brought me so far back to first-person speed of Unreal Tournament.
Oh wow, that was very
Tournament
fast.
2K. 2K3 or whatever that one was, and that was a very fast first-person shooter, and it kind of felt like that level of speediness. Actually, the original Half-Life was very fast as well. That was a fast game, but yeah, it had that same speed to it. It is a little quirky on some of the animations and how like you're moving around. They made the character move around as if it was bumping into the environment and stuff, and like if you get too close to an object, your gun would move back because the object's in the way.
But it's a first-person game, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So they kind of they
animate the camera, so
right.
the camera does a lot of leaning and stuff like that. And some of that stuff was a little weird, a little jarring. I don't know if that was in like the other consoles or PC version, or if that was a Switch thing. I think it was in the other ones, but I think the lower frame rate results in lower quality of animations because you're not getting you're missing half the frame data, right? So I don't know if it's if that's part of it or if there's some weird like translation porting issues, but overall, it's a solid game. It's really cool. And then when you finally beat the game, like it doesn't end because it gives you like a whole bunch of stuff. It's sort of like when you beat the story part of the game, it's finally like, all right, now you have access to the world map, which you still do, but it gives you like the full access to the world map and gives you like very clear goals. Like, all right, you got to do all these little things. You got to kill all these little Nazi commanders all over the place. And you get to sort of like be like, all right, it's time to go to that location. I got to hunt down that. So you're like bounty hunting like different Nazi commanders and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a very cool experience. The story it's not like a great story, but it is like a wacky roller coaster of fun.
I think I think Wolfenstein games are kind of known to have that sort of aspect.
Yeah. So nice. I was very impressed. So that was a blast to play. Still playing Radiant Historia, Perfect Chronology.
I still have a few of those on my watch list for eBay. I think at some point I will get it.
Yeah, it's just there is the story is really good. And they keep like flipping the table on you. And I'm like, oh my God, this timeline, it's crazy. And then I have to like hop back into another one. And it's, it's good. Nice. It's real good. It's real good. That's awesome. Digging it. The Outer Worlds, I'm kind of at the point where I just want to speed through the rest of the game. I pretty much, I'm at the point where I left, what's the name of the planet? The big one. What's it called?
I'm into way too many games to even remember.
Yeah, it's a very big planet. It's very like orangey.
I think I remember
like, the spider mantis.
Yeah, I think I remember the same thing where it was kind of just a race
Monarch.
to the yes.
Monarch.
It was just more of just a race to the end because I mean, you don't really pick up many great weapons along the way. You kind of I think that was kind of the weakest point of the Outer Worlds was that.
Yeah, and they did have more of like faction versus faction stuff going on in which on the first planet, Terra 2, they had it there and it was great. And then they sort of have it a little bit and then they sort of don't really base that much on Monarch, but then you sort of ease into it and then by the time you're ready to leave Monarch, they sort of throw this big giant like deciding faction versus faction type of stuff on you. And that stuff is great. Although one of the ways that they implemented it was a little odd, but I reasoned my way into having it make sense. But apparently there's a path, the true path of deciding between the two factions where there is actually a third option where you can get peace between the two. But and you're not aware of this until it's too late. If you make the wrong dialogue decisions up until that point, lo and behold, you made the bad choice. But there's ways to like reason yourself into thinking like, okay, the third true this is what I did. I reasoned myself into thinking that the third true path, the true like good victory for deciding that quarrel, was actually not a good way, because the person that you would then put in charge is actually not as stable as the person that you replaced the other person with. So stuff like that. Like, but it's fine. Like I'm okay with it. But at this point, like, you're not getting any new weapons. You're just getting the same weapons that are higher level.
Yeah.
They don't reward discovery. That's a big pet peeve I have with the game. They are not rewarding discovery whatsoever. The reward is more weapons that are useless.
And not to it's easy to compare.
More ammo. I have like almost 10.
It's unnecessary, right? I guess it's fair to compare it to Fallout 3 and 4.
And Fallout rewarded with bobbleheads.
Right, either with bobbleheads, but you also had your unique type of weapons, and that's what I really missed, and I wish they had implemented that. And maybe they didn't want to, because Fallout had done that. Well,
they do kind of have that, except that the unique weapons,
they're not that good.
They're like under-leveled, and the only thing that makes them unique is that they already come with a mod already on it.
Right. Like, I want the Lincoln repeater, or I want some of these like really cool weapons. Yeah. And they just didn't have that. They
didn't do the extra mile of balancing and polishing and refining that was needed, because if they did that check, and they probably did, but they didn't do it as scrutinizing as I would have.
Of course.
Because I would have identified that the feel wasn't right and would have corrected that. But they probably ran out of time. Look, the game's really good. It's just like, you realize pretty much after the first planet, after Terra 2, you realize that the loop is kind of the same. The only thing that changes up is the story elements in the different societies that you're interacting with.
But it's still the same loop.
Yeah. But the nature of exploring is like, meh. The only reason why I want to explore is because I'm killing more stuff so I can get more experience so I can level up.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. It's not... Yeah. Right. I agree.
Lockpicking a safe, I already know what's going to be in it. Junk. It's going to have more weapons that probably are not going to match my level. And it's going to have more like credits, which I'm maxed out. Like, maxed out theoretically. I don't need to buy anything. What do I need to buy?
Right. And that was the thing. Like, I had all this money. I'm like, there's nothing.
Yeah, money's pointless in a game. Right. The money's pointless. Ammo's not scarce whatsoever.
Maybe if you had tried the hardcore mode.
Nah. I was killing stuff in the hardcore mode right off rip. Right. So it's not like I was running out of bullets either. It's just, and I'm not even playing combat based.
I was doing sneaky kind of sniper. That's what I was doing.
I'm doing all the other skills except for the combat, the 2 combat skills. Really? Branches or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna be beating that soon. And I probably played like 1 or 2 other games. I can't remember what they are, but I will say I got into the Legends of Runeterra. Open beta or closed beta? I don't know. It's in beta or whatever.
Say, what is this?
So, League of Legends?
I know of League of Legends.
Riot Games announced a whole bunch of games. That they're additional games that they are making. And one of them is Legends of Runeterra, which is a collectible card game.
Oh. Okay, in the same vein as Hearthstone, or
yeah, same vein as Hearthstone. It's kind of like a mix of like Hearthstone and that team battle games.
Battle games,
like the Dota chess, auto chess.
Yeah, auto chess.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's very much a card game though. It's more a card game, and they do some cool stuff. It kind of seems like it's borrowing from auto chess. From Hearthstone, absolutely, and borrowing from Artifact, that terrible Steam game. And I played a lot of that. I played like 40 hours.
So you're getting into this? I'm sure they had something else.
Well, I used to play card games professionally.
Oh.
I won tournaments.
Oh, no, I know. For with Hearthstone.
On Hearthstone, yeah. And I won tournaments on Magic: The Gathering.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of card games in general, and I'm just... it's a beta, right? And it's brand new. So I'm like checking out, seeing if there's like something worthwhile to it. And you know what? There's some admirable things to it. Cool. One of the cool mechanics is that you get like champions which are like very powerful units that you make up within your deck, and they have like a quest that you need a quest condition that you need to satisfy, and once you satisfy it, they level up. So they sort of transform into a more powerful version
within
of themselves.
that round of playing, not forever.
Within that match.
Okay.
Yeah. And that sort of becomes like a nice little sub-objective and sub-mechanic.
There's battling with yourself to try and get.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's interesting. I'm not saying that this is like a super well thought out game. I still think the best of the CCG computer CCG card game battler games is probably Duelist as far as like core mechanics. But Duelist has just way too much randomness to make it even worth competitive while.
Right.
This one seems way lighter on randomness. There's like very little randomness other than deck drawing. I didn't see too much in the way of randomness on unit abilities and effects.
Do you like that randomness?
No.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say as a card player, I don't see how anyone would want RNG.
No, it's terrible. That's the whole reason why I stopped playing Hearthstone was because of the RNG. When the sets became more and more RNG based, and it just became unbearable from a competitive standpoint and unreasonable. It also kind of fueled my hatred into making a board game that has absolutely zero, a competitive board game that has absolutely zero
no RNG at all.
So yeah, I don't like RNG.
but you play D&D or Pathfinder, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Right, there's RNG in that.
Yeah, look, RNG is a very useful tool if applied correctly, and correctly is it can change as to what is correct depending on which lens you're looking at it from. And from the competitive lens, RNG in Hearthstone is awful.
Right.
And is unbearable, which is why I don't want to play it. So when they treat it as an esport thing, and I got into the whole esports part of Hearthstone, it's just, no, it's not happening anymore with me. And also there's stuff that they need to do to sort of fix that game to even have someone to competitive wise to
get into it.
But this one, thankfully, doesn't have, or at least the very limited amount that I've played it, doesn't have any overly outrageous RNG based effects.
I think once you start adding more cards and expansions and all this other stuff, that's when you get into your RNG type of stuff.
That's what I think these developers are doing, is they are purposely starting off their games appealing to the competitive crowd, and then they insert the RNG to then once the early adopters get in, those are the hardcore, right? The early adopters for any new tech, any new game, whatever it may be, any industry, are always the people that are knowledgeable in it. They are the hardcore ones, right? So, and then they sort of ease off the appeal to the hardcore crowd and start stepping on the gas for the casualness.
Yeah, right.
So they simplify things, they make it more interesting and exciting, which RNG does make things exciting because, this new thing I didn't expect to happen, random effects, fireworks, hey.
Not so good when you're competitively trying to do it.
Yeah. But Runeterra, it does some cool things mechanics-wise for like being able to do reactions. So I play a spell, the opponent can react to it. You're sort of passing a buck back and forward. It was already done in like Artifact, but it seems like they're in a good direction. So I might be playing that more. Maybe.
All right, cool. So that is what we're playing.
Yeah, a whole lot of what we're playing.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the housekeeping?
Of course. I always like to keep a clean house.
Yep.
So yes, don't forget to visit our Discord, discord.switchrpg.com, and we will be having an AMA with the folks, the developers of Skell Boy. I think that is on the 1st Oh, geez, I'd have to pull it up. I will verify that, and I'll kind of bring that up at the end.
What day would it be on? Is it on like a Tuesday or what?
Yeah, I just don't remember the time. That's the thing.
So the first would be Saturday.
Yeah, I just don't recall the time. But if you're looking on Twitter, it is the pinned tweet there. But I want to thank our patrons. We have DJ Atkins, Hedge Knight Mike, Michael C, Sequel Violist, Nick Lal, Mike Lubinsky, I'm not thanking him, Matthew Garbett, and Tuile. We have quite a number, a little bit more patrons. I love it.
Some new names on that.
I like it. Let me take a quick peek at our when that AMA is, because
take a quick peek.
I want to get that right.
And then after we get that right, we can kind of ease into the news rundown.
Yes, and that's going to be a lot of what we discussed today. But Skell Boy is February 1st, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you don't know what Eastern Standard Time is, do a little Bing search and you will find it.
Yeah.
All right, news. Delays. More and more delays.
A lot of delays. A lot of big title delays.
Yeah.
So many of them, too.
I know.
This little list we have here is not even like...
No, it's not even all of them.
Yeah.
Because they were, I think it was at... well, let's get to these. So Final Fantasy VII.
The remake,
delayed.
Not a whole lot. 1 month and change.
But delayed.
Yep.
And, none of these guys had really reasons for delaying. I mean, I'm sure they have reasons.
Well, yeah, the reason is more polish.
Sure. Yeah. Then we have Cyberpunk 2077. This is kind of one I was disappointed in.
Yeah, I already have that game bought. It's just waiting for the download to happen.
Oh, so you're going digital on that one?
Yeah. Oh, PC.
Oh, what a nerd. I'll be getting...
I want to play the game the best it possibly can be. So
I think with this one, they actually said it that the original Xbox, the Xbox One, not the iterations after that, is actually what's holding this back. So they're delaying it so they can, because that's kind of the worst or kind of the least powered system.
Switch version ain't happening.
No. So that's why it's being delayed, I think, to November. And I actually, when I was at E3, I saw this game running. I was someone playing it, and
probably running on a PC.
Yeah. It looked good. It looked really good. And then we have, this is actually one I'm disappointed. Another one I'm disappointing.
Yeah.
Because I love this series. Dying Light 2.
So I never played it, but the trailers that I saw, I think 2 years ago or something like that. E3 2 years ago or something like that.
I saw this game running at E3.
Or 3 years ago. It was interesting, the stuff that they were doing with the sort of making very important decisions that could cause the world itself to change.
Right.
And
it was definitely an open world, first person zombie game with the kind of like you had said, I consider that like the telltale mechanic. Okay. So you make a decision and all of a sudden you're like the environment. Well,
Telltale.
You know what I'm talking about, right? So your decision has drastic changes in this giant world.
I wouldn't associate drastic decision making with Telltale.
Oh, well, I mean, with Telltale, you make one choice. You could be in for a different ending in Telltale games. Whatever. Anyway, with this one's really surprising because it's indefinite. There's actually they didn't say when they're delaying. They just said it's delayed
indefinitely.
We'll let you know when. And again, this is another one of those games where I saw the guy playing it, and it looked really, really awesome. It looked really, really almost done, basically.
Yeah, that's not good.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to research a little bit more, but I'm not sure what's going on. What's going on there?
It's the Xbox One.
It could be.
That's it. They're delaying it so that they're probably going to delay it long enough so that they can just release it on next gen hardware.
I was actually going to say that most of these delays are probably more geared towards that decision. You know, we got the next gen coming in. Let's just, hold our horses, polish the game a little bit more, make it a little better, get it ready for next gen. And especially, I'm sure those developers have kind of, those dev kits. They're kind of, they know what they're going to be developing for. So that could be a potential thing. But again, they're kind of between gen. They're going to be releasing it on all these platforms as well. So that's what I'm hoping it is. Well, Final Fantasy VII, again, it could just be that could really be a polished thing.
Just a month and change. That's bug fixing. That's what that is.
Yeah. Maybe there's just too much. I'm not really so sad about that because I won't be playing it. I have no.
Well, Square has gone on record multiple times throughout the many years the Final Fantasy VII Remake has been in development. Like they feel like they cannot mess up. Like the reputation of Final Fantasy is on the line with Final Fantasy VII. So I think they are treating it at the highest of high echelons because the lowest of low was Final Fantasy 14 and 15 didn't really, it didn't make fans angry, and it definitely didn't please fans.
Well, pacified them.
It didn't hurt or help the reputation.
Okay.
And then the work that they did with 14, improving it, definitely helped, but they're sort of putting all their eggs in this FF7 remake basket,
right?
Regarding their reputation.
I just think making it episodic is just so idiotic in my opinion. I can't stand that.
No, that's fine.
I don't like it.
It's like expansions, big giant expansions, or think of it as sequels.
Are they going to be? I guess you could think of it as sequels.
Because they did this with StarCraft,
but we know it's not. I know, but we know it's not a sequel. We know that the whole entire game exists.
But they're adding so much more to it.
It's a totally different game. Essentially, it's just the story bits are there.
I'm saying the story. They're adding way more to the story.
Oh, are they?
No question about it. There's no question.
I'm going to be honest. I have been totally hands off with Final Fantasy VII. I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy VII. I mean, I understand that people like Final Fantasy VII. It's just not for me.
So they said that this first iteration is entirely in Midgard.
Okay.
And that's less than 5 hours of the game.
Right.
Of the original game. So unless it's 5 hours of this game, if they don't add anything new to the story progression the story, and it's 5 hours, that is a disaster.
I think visually it's gonna, people are just gonna eat it up. I have no issues with that. But if it's not enough content, people are gonna be just so mad. And is it full priced? Is it gonna be a $60 type of thing, or is it? So
another thing that I've heard is that it's definitely gonna be $60. No question about it.
So if the content isn't there, the quantity.
So what I heard from listening to other people talk about going back into Final Fantasy VII is that the story made no sense. It was incomprehensible at many instances where it wasn't very cohesive and they were missing elements and inferred things that were inferred, but if you weren't absolutely paying attention, way over your head, there was missing entire missing chunk. It almost felt as if there were missing chunks of backstory or story in general. So it didn't really feel cohesive from end to end.
Right.
The big story points, the big beats of the story, those are the ones that people latched on to. But when it came to piecing everything together in this one big cohesive sort of plot, it didn't really make that much sense. And that to me is why this has taken so much, is because they are taking the time to fully flesh things out. And in the process, they discovered that by doing that, they had to break this game into multiple pieces because they spent that much time. This is my guess now, my hypothetical, is that they are spending so much time getting this story, because when people play it, another big worry is if they didn't change anything and people played it, they're going to realize how awful the original was storyline-wise.
I mean, it's a totally different game combat-wise altogether, so...
Look, Final Fantasy VII was absolutely overrated. It got that overrated hit and bubble because it was the first major Final Fantasy game, the first major RPG on the PlayStation, the first one to do the big grandiose full motion video sequences.
It was a big difference, big step up from the Super Nintendo,
from
basically.
Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah, from Final Fantasy 3, I call it. From there,
You're wrong.
from there over to the PS1.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's definitely a big difference, and that's
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. It's not for me. I know
it's for me. Like I've never played Final Fantasy 7, and I've always wanted to play it, but it was so ugly, and it was, and the combat, the menu-driven combat system, was a step back from even something like Final Fantasy 4
or 1.
Oh, I wouldn't say a step back from 1. 1's pretty basic.
Very basic, yeah.
The only thing that gets more basic than 1 is Dragon Warrior.
And that was very basic.
Yeah.
But yeah, got some delays. And then there were others.
There's a lot of other delays.
Was Marvel delayed?
The Marvel Avengers game?
That's it. Yeah, that was delayed.
September. There's other, like, kind of big games that got delayed.
Recently.
I don't...
Which is so weird. Right now, I feel like now with these games being kind of separated like this, there's a big gap.
I'm happy as clams because I know this ain't gonna happen to Nintendo.
What have they got?
Well,
other than you got Animal Crossing, which I understand has its audience. It's a very big game. Xenoblade is coming. I think there's speculation that it's coming in. Well, sorry.
We'll be talking about.
We'll be talking about it. But I mean, there's still a lot of big gaps, I think, that can be filled.
There's this right over here coming out in like 4 days.
Okay. Why don't you bring that up then? Because I actually did not watch this at all.
All right. Oh, you didn't watch. All right. So we're going to go into the news. There was a Nintendo Direct.
Not a Nintendo Direct.
Yeah. Well, all right. It was a Smash Direct.
Thank you. And that's why I totally
from Nintendo.
I don't care.
It had Sakurai, man.
I'm just not a Smash Bros. Dude.
All right. But
mostly because I'm bad.
And coinciding with this, they also released another trailer, another reveal, which was very well timed and does tie very nicely into. They both tie very nicely into each other. So the Smash Direct was they pretty much announced the final DLC fighter, which is Byleth from Fire Emblem. 3 Houses.
And that it was just funny, I guess, seeing kind of the uproar. I don't know if you were on Twitter, but I mean everyone was just kind of upset about, oh my gosh, another Fire Emblem character.
Another sword user.
Yeah, so I mean it's either another sword user, another, I don't know. I think that's a lot of my disdain for Smash as well. Is the fan base, and it's the same thing with Pokemon. The fan base is just so toxic. They're just so angry. Like all the time.
Look, that's
maybe I confuse anger for passion, but they're the same thing.
No, you're confusing the what's the word? The zeitgeist. You're sort of leaning.
So the vocal minority.
You're paying too much attention to the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
To the current zeitgeist. The current zeitgeist is to hate on Byleth, to hate on this final DLC character being yet another sword user and yet another Fire Emblem character, because there's been so many Fire Emblem characters. But that's fine. This character plays a bit different. A pole arm and an axe is pretty much going to work functionally the same.
Well, I
as
would
a
expect
sword.
there to be a little more range in a pole arm, but still.
No, there is. They do have, you get more range with the pole arm, you get more power with the axe. That's how they sort of changed it up. But I think a better way to do this type of, it makes perfect sense when you understand like Byleth, because the pole arm is the weapon from Dimitri, the axe is from Edelgard, and you get the bow, which is fundamentally different, right? There aren't too many bow using characters.
Link.
The Links.
The Links.
The
Links. Right, the Links. Nobody complains about how many iterations of Link there are.
Right, but that's because of what's the word?
They all play differently too, but
the generation. There's multiple generations, iterations, and then they revised some of the Links as well. But this character absolutely does not play like, and they very clearly indicate that, doesn't play like any other Fire Emblem character or any other character in the Smash roster. The moveset looks very distinct, very unique. So to me, it looks great. It's yet another fighter. Did I want another Fire Emblem character? Nope. If they were going to pick another Fire Emblem character, should have been Byleth? Yeah. Yeah, Byleth was a pretty good pick.
Makes sense, right?
And the way they presented the information, and it's kind of funny how Sakurai kind of went through the entire history very quickly, but he went through like this big giant history dump of Fire Emblem franchise. He loves the franchise so much.
Obviously, it's represented in
but
like a ton.
This is such a great game. If there was representation for Fire Emblem, I'm glad Byleth will do it, because I think they can get rid of a bunch of, in the, 5-10 years from now, when the next Smash comes out, if that ever happens, they'll probably retain Byleth and get rid of some of the odder ones, like
the older ones, possibly. I
wouldn't say older. They'll probably get rid of Ike. They'll probably get rid of Chrom. Definitely Chrom, and maybe even Lucina, just because they're all kind of, well, Ike not so much, but Chrom and Lucina are basically mirrors, copies of Marth and Roy, with slight adjustments. Or they might get rid of Marth and Roy because they're so old, in favor of Chrom, because Chrom is from Awakening, which is a very important game in the series. Corrin works very differently, so they'll probably keep Corrin, and Ike works kind of differently as well, so they'll probably keep Ike, but Ike, I can easily see them dropping as well.
That's just way too many Fire Emblem characters.
But Byleth, they will probably definitely keep, because this is the most successful Fire Emblem game. And it's definitely, or if it isn't yet, it will be the most successful Fire Emblem game, and it's the best one. So Byleth, to me, is going to be like one of the mainstays for it. But coinciding with this character reveal is the final wave of DLC.
This is the only thing I'm upset about missing. Was this part of it?
Well, it wasn't.
Like it was
separate.
I know, but I wasn't expecting, obviously something like this, kind of this sort of announcement. But I'll let you.
Yeah. So the final DLC, it's called the Cindered Shadows. It takes. I don't know how you're going to be able to access it, but once you have it, I guess you can go at some point when you're on the first part of the game of the storyline. You can access the underground part of the monastery, and there's this fourth house that's lurking there with 4 brand new characters and a whole new story segment there.
Yeah,
with them.
I'm just curious as to how you do access them. Like, do you have to don't tell me you have to replay the whole thing all over again.
I have no clue. I am excited. Well, the fact that it's in the basement, the hidden underground part, makes me wonder.
Which I think gets mentioned, actually, in...
Well, you visit there a few times already.
Yeah.
But this is like even further underground, I guess.
Way underground.
Yeah, you'll know more about the underground stuff. This makes way more sense if you played the Golden Deer.
Well, that's what I was saying. When you in the Black Eagles, I don't want to spoil anything.
Well, Black Eagles probably does know a bit more about the underground stuff,
right?
too.
And I think that's why I this makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Okay,
but probably it might make more sense to Edelgard's house. And the only one I know for certain is probably oblivious to this underground thing is the Blue Lions.
Right, the Dimitri's. Yeah. Dimitri.
But yeah, it's the DLC, and there's new quests and storyline segments and new characters to get and recruit, and I don't know if there's anything else more you want to tackle with that.
No, I'm just totally missed on that. I just didn't expect it, But yeah, do we? What are they called? Are they called like the gray? Oh, the gray ghosts.
Silver was Ashen Wolves.
Ashen Wolves.
The Ashen Wolves. Yep, and it comes out on the 13th of February, like the day before Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
Happy Valentine's Day.
I absolutely can't wait. My girlfriend's kind of waiting.
There you go.
She's playing through a second time.
What a perfect gift that would be for your.
Oh, it's already queued up.
Never mind.
Got the season pass. Yeah, we've already been doing like the hot. Was it the steam baths, steam houses, or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, the saunas. Yeah. Petting the cats and giving them treats, the dogs and cats treats.
And a lot of tea.
We're
always.
already doing that. Yeah.
Next on the agenda, we have a GDC survey, developer survey, increased developer interest in the Switch. No kidding. These guys like money. I mean, anything they're putting on the Switch seems to be doing really well.
Yeah, and this information, you could probably get it from like a whole bunch of different places. It's reported on gamesindustry.biz. But what is kind of missing from here is the context. Because I remember reading this.
The survey.
Reading this similar type of survey-based information.
Okay.
I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before. And it was gauging developer interest on the platforms, including the Switch and other stuff. And just to put in perspective, it was, from what I remember, like 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, which was just before the Switch launched, the number of the poll amount was like 5% or less for the Switch. And this amount is, what was it? It was 17% currently developing for Switch, with another 19% have plans for the next game to be on the Switch platform.
So they're probably currently developing for the other platforms, and
these percentages were for two different questions. So it was 17% of the people polled said that they currently have a Switch project in the works, and then another question was of the games you have planned, 19% of them said that it's going to be a Switch game. Mm-hmm. So you can see more details on that if you go to GameIndustry.biz.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, if they like money, put your game on the Switch.
Yep.
It doesn't mean they're all good. I hate for it to be like what Steam has, just a bunch of trash games. I wish there was a little more cultivation.
Oh, there's worse than Steam, though. The Apple Store.
Right.
Or Android.
I was going to say, if you go to mobile platform, that's just that's very, very different.
That is where games go to die, man.
The mobile platform?
That is, they put Atari to shame when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, with the eShop, I just wish there was a little more curating. And I guess that doesn't happen.
It would be nice, but then again, there's some devs that they're glad that it's easier to put your games on there, but...
Right. I guess the process is good, but I mean, who's Nintendo to say, your game is really not that great? Like, you know?
You know what their process is? It's really, you just gotta work with a publisher that already has a game on Switch or already has relations with Nintendo. Boom, you're in. The other way to get in is really you kind of just have to release your game on another platform and show that you can release a game on another platform, like Steam.
Right.
Which is why you're seeing a lot of like mobile games or Steam games go to Switch very, very quickly and very rapidly, is because once you've had it and once you can prove that you've had it released on another platform, it doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be successul. Mm-hmm. You can then bring it over to Switch.
Right.
I'm not saying it's that straightforward. That's generally what it is. If you are a developer that has never released anything before, you're not going to work with a publisher or a publisher that has Nintendo relations, you're not going to get access to Switch dev kits.
Yeah,
I've tried.
Not so hard. Not so easy, right?
Yeah, not so easy.
So Square Enix Collective, their Twitter account announced, it was actually, they teased it initially.
They teased it.
All right. I forget how they worded it, but basically, all right, we're going to be making an announcement. And everyone, especially in our universe,
was be excited.
Yeah. Yes, please. Is that what they said? Please be excited.
Something like that.
So they got everyone geared up, ready to go. Oh my gosh, what could it be? What could it be? Bravely Default. What is it? And myself, I'm like, it's nothing big. These guys typically deal with independent developers, so they're usually on the indie side of things. But I was definitely hoping for something RPG. We did not get anything RPG. It was basically a first-person kind of
puzzly.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
dungeon
Portal.
puzzle. Yeah, there you go.
A Portal-like.
But looks good.
Yeah.
I think visually it looks really, really good.
That's called a Turing test.
Yeah, it's just not what I wanted.
Well, Portal didn't seem like a game I wanted until the reviews came out and said it was spectacular, and then I played Portal and it was spectacular. So
Okay, well, this is not Portal.
how do you know?
I don't know. You're right. It's not.
Portal was made by a small team.
I understand.
The first one.
I understand. And no, I'm not saying that this game is not going to be good or anything. I'm just saying it's not an RPG. It's not what I wanted.
Yep.
That's all.
Okay.
They got us all excited.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a letdown, but I guess we hyped ourselves up to be let down.
But that's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, that is what we do. So we had a recent game that was released. Kind of the most recent AAA game. Double A?
I will say double.
Okay,
Double's fine.
Okay, I'll just go. Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Sharp Classic Definitive Superior Edition
Encore. That's the actual name. We got it right. Good job.
So that was released, and it actually is scoring pretty decent.
Yeah, 81% on OpenCritic, and that's across 41 different critics' scores. So, good job.
I'm seeing a lot of people playing it. A lot of people enjoying. It's not for me.
Yes, not for me either. It's mostly the aesthetic for me, and also it still seems a bit shallow story, but I don't know too much about the story. But there is lots of praise that the story is worthwhile. But the people I heard this from on like podcasts and such also said that the story for Persona 5 was worthwhile.
Oh boy, and we know you don't love it.
I tried. I wanted to really enjoy it. Look, I can get into anime-esque RPGs like crazy, right? I'm a huge Tales fan, but no, Persona 5.
I don't think you gave it a fair shake. I think you should play it in its entirety.
Oh, sure. I'll just dump another 10 hours. Is that enough?
10 hours is not enough in like a 200-hour game.
We've had this talk before.
I know. It's just not enough. If I had done that...
Don't make a 200-hour game, first off.
If I had done that... Not me personally, but I know quite a few people who had put in 10 hours into Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and said, not worth my time. And I would just, you just got to push through it. There's a learning curve. They're always throwing new stuff at you. You just got to keep going. You'll get it. You'll love it. Yeah. And when do you start feeling? You start feeling that probably around the 30, 40 hour mark.
No. Xenoblade 2 was immediate.
For us.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe for you with Persona 5, that is at the 30 or 40 hour mark.
No. Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the big thing with it is the music. Like, I'm not a fan of J-pop at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's kind of on its own category. So
I think of that music as being trash to my ears, so...
It hurts your brain?
Yeah, it's just brainless.
There's some J-pop that I actually like. I think maybe the J-pop that is in that game may not be your cup of tea.
Look, there's some J-pop that I'm okay with, but to me, I doubt there's going to be anything worth my time in this. Although I hear great things about the battles, stuff like that, and 81%. That's nothing to discard. So. To me, I would consider this game to be great, just not for me specifically.
As long with Persona 5. So again, moving on.
I tried with Persona 5.
We had a Pokemon Direct since the last episode.
We talked about it and we speculated.
Right, it was the speculation episode, and then it actually happened.
Yep.
So they're adding
two expansions.
2 expansions, yes.
Yeah.
As well as, are they adding new Pokemon as well?
They're adding back in. So
right.
A lot of people complain that not all their favorite Pokemon were making it into the decks.
Tough nuggets.
They're adding in like right around 200 or maybe a little bit more than 200. But 200 seems to be the magic number. They're adding about 200 Pokemon from prior Pokemon games. You can transfer them via the Pokemon Home app.
And I don't think that's not active yet. That's going to be down the line.
I believe
with
so,
DLC.
Yeah. And this will be a free update, so you don't even have to get the DLC to get those 200 Pokemon support. But then also it's going to sort of coincide with maybe the first iteration of the DLC is when it's going to happen, and I think that first iteration is
right because of the DLC. Because of the DLC, they have to expand. Their rosters, and people are all up in arms about that as well. You know, these expansions.
I think these expansions are pretty worthwhile. They're $30 for the entire season pass
for each iteration. So if you have Sword, you're paying $30 for that. If you have Shield, and it's a different DLC for that. I mean, essentially,
it's the same deal. You're going to the same regions. There'll be subtle differences.
Right. There will be subtle differences. I guess people are they're so sensitive nowadays. You know,
I don't know anyone that's complaining about that.
I have definitely seen that. I think maybe that's died down. This is all in the Twitterverse. So
this is what Pokemon's all about.
And it's what
they
Pokemon
double charge you.
And it's what Pokemon is always right.
Yeah.
That's what Pokemon's always done. Would you rather them come out with a Pokemon Sword, whatever they call it, 2? Like what they did with Pokemon Black and like what they did with all those iterations. I think an expansion is just easier for them. It makes more sense.
Yeah. The whole initial concept of having 2 different Pokemon games was to make the access to the Pokemon themselves different, to force players to link up and trade Pokemon. That was the whole intent.
Right.
They then realized that there was a lot of money to be made by having people double share. And it also further promoted siblings or people under the same household to own 2 different copies of the same, essentially the same game.
And in the same house.
Instead of just taking their copy and letting their friend borrow it or their sibling borrow it.
I myself think that's kind of a shady tactic, but obviously they're in the business to make money. You know, they're not in the business. I mean, they want to make their fans happy. Don't get me wrong.
To me, it's not shady. It's a option that you do not need to do. Like, you could be just one of these Pokemon games without the expansions is a big game.
Right.
You're getting your money's worth.
And I think potentially you could still do trading. You can trade with other people to get the Pokemon that you don't have access to.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
Yeah.
People be sensitive. That's all it is. We also speculated about other Pokemon things. We were wrong, obviously.
No, I wasn't.
Wait,
they announced it. Pokemon Snap for the Switch.
Wait, no. We were speculating Pokemon Snap. We were a little off on that. But we got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX. And
Rescue Team DX.
So this is kind of is it a remake?
It is a remake.
Yeah.
Absolute remake, yeah.
So it's a remake, and there is a demo out for it, and I did play the demo. Visually, it looks different. It doesn't. I'm not interested in the gameplay mechanic. I'm not too into it. You go around the dungeon, you press left, up, down, left, right, so they go down the whole alley. It's just, it's just a very antiquated.
Is it too dumbed down and simplified?
Yes.
Okay.
Very dumbed down, very simplified. Doesn't seem like it's a challenge at all, and maybe that's just the Pokemon thing. You know, they want for a younger audience.
It's for a younger audience,
which is fine. But what it looks like, it's got a watercolor kind of aesthetic, I guess you could call it. It also looks like, I want to say I've seen this kind of basic artwork somewhere, whether it was looked like concept art. I think that's where they got it from. So someone had made some concept art in a watercolor style, and they essentially adapted that to what this game looks like.
Yeah.
That's visually what it looks like to me.
I like that.
It looks really, really cool. It's just not for me.
Yeah. It's Pokemon.
And it's not what we wanted.
It shouldn't be for us for Pokemon. Although Pokemon Snap will be for us.
Oh, geez. That'll be for you. What else we got? I'll let you kind of...
Yeah, so there's been 2 different sources, which kind of leads to, I think it's 2 different stores.
Is it Walmart
online
again?
Stores or whatever, that have listed May 29th as the potential release date for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. So...
Right. So there's our potential gap filler, I guess.
Yeah.
If that's true, let's just say, for instance...
That's pretty far away, though.
Right, and that's the thing. I was just going to say, let's say, yes, all right. So end of May, beginning of June, sometime around there, that's when our next big game is between Animal Crossing and that. That's still a big gap there.
Yeah.
And then from there, we have nothing else.
Well, I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a direct very, very soon.
Right.
Next
That's
week
what we keep
or the
saying,
week
though.
after.
Like, where is it?
Well, there's other stories, but we covered a story on the last episode, which was about Metro Redux.
Yep.
And that was supposed to be hush hush, and
It got
the
announced.
cat's out of the bag. There's another one. So these third parties,
They're just announcing it, though.
they're getting leaked or soft announced.
Oh, so your thought is they're getting leaked and they're like, you know what? Here it is.
Exactly. It got leaked, so then they made the soft announcement. And I think this is happening because the direct is imminent. Okay. And I think what's going to pad out the major releases is going to be a good, solid collection of third-party stuff.
Older third-party stuff.
I think that's going to come because we know that...
Which is kind of weak, in my opinion.
Yeah, we know that Metro is coming in February. Mm-hmm. This other one, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is probably going to be another potential February or maybe like March or April.
Sure.
So these things are probably going to pad out the remainder, and then there's some rumor stuff.
Right, but
so
those the games we're talking about, like say for example Metro and this other game, I'll just say it's Bioshock. Okay, so
Bioshock Collection.
The collection. So you have Bioshock 1,
I would
2,
not discard that whatsoever.
1,
That is
2.
I'm
and
excited for that.
3. Oh, so is it 4?
It's Bioshock 1, 2, and Infinite.
Okay, so it's 3 games.
3, and there's DLC with Bioshock 2.
Sure. And I think they're releasing that as one game, right?
A collection, yeah.
Yeah, so that's still not enough. That's still not my Nintendo releases that I want. Because that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like I said, Animal Crossing. You have, I understand Monolith is not Monolith. With Xenoblade. Monolith Soft?
Monolith, yeah.
Yeah. I understand that not Nintendo, but yeah, they're first party. I consider them first party.
Oh, yeah.
Where are my other first party games? Is Metroid down the line, end of the year? I doubt it.
We got some rumors on that.
I really doubt it. But we are still in the need for other things. One thing I'm really surprised we haven't gotten, this is kind of just an off-track thing, with Super Mario Party. I am really shocked we haven't gotten any DLC for that. Because I was just recently playing that with my kids. I'm like, we played these same mini games for like a long time. Like, what is going on? Anyway, so yeah, we need more of these. I'm talking Nintendo first party games. Now these
DLC for a party game, I think is a hard
or just
sell.
more mini games. That's all it needs to be.
As like free DLC, I could see that, but as like pay DLC, I don't see them ever doing that.
Yeah, no, I mean when I say DLC, I'm not talking paid DLC. I think for something like that would not be.
Well, what would make more sense to me is like a Mario Odyssey paid DLC.
Right, which I don't. That's been a while. I don't know if we'll ever see that. The last time we got any DLC was the Luigi's Balloon.
Yeah, that was it. They're totally working on Odyssey 2. That is
for sure. But I want more of these first party Nintendo releases. We have only 2 this year.
Well, or
and
exclusives.
Even then, right? That's yeah.
There's Bayonetta 3, which we already know about.
We know about. Again, we
don't know when it's going to release.
It may not be this year.
A direct is imminent. It's happening.
Okay.
It's gotta happen. Nintendo's been quiet since September regarding.
You keep getting my hopes up, and it just
keep them up, man.
It keeps hurting.
Here's something to be excited about. I think this is like super AAA.
Super AAA? Yeah. For a game that's like 20 years old. Go ahead.
It's a remake.
All right. As you were saying, it's not a remake.
It is. These are all right. So Langrisser 1 and 2, the demo for that package is releasing on the eShop. And it's I can pull the date, or do you already have the article?
I don't have it here, no.
All right. Let me just pull it up over here. So Langrisser 1 and 2 is I think a Super Nintendo or a Genesis game, or maybe
I don't know,
a late NES game. These games are old. They got remade on
Probably
think
the Vita or something.
PSP, perhaps.
Yeah, one of those things.
And then they got brought over to mobile, and I think the version that's coming to the Switch is the updated mobile version, which has additional voice acting and graphics. That's probably based on the PSP or Vita one. But I'm excited because Langrisser 1 and 2, I've never played the franchise, but it's pretty much Fire Emblem.
I was going to say, it seems like those are games that are right up your alley.
Yeah.
And no, these are not AAA games.
No.
Like, these are games that are old.
Yep.
They're old, but good. You know, they are worth. They're I think worth re-releasing to a newer audience. But you know, they are old.
Yeah. So they say here.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a bunch of like additions. They're just talking about the game in general, but I'm trying to look for the demo. They said that the demo is going to be soon, and that's it. So keep your eyes peeled on the eShop. But the dates I see listed here
For launch.
and this is for launch is March 10th. So March 10th, US, and then 13th for Europe. But March 10th, that's not far away at all.
Nope.
And that's actually a pretty good time, knowing what we know so far.
Right.
Having something like this land March 10th, I'm actually pretty happy about that.
Okay.
Because it fills in the gap, the void of emptiness. Look, I'm okay with voids because I got my void badge because I survived the N64.
Right. I mean, I got plenty to play anyway, so I'm not yearning for games. I yearn for games. You know what I mean? I buy games just to put them on my back shelf to play, at some point, whenever. But yeah, we got more rumors.
Yeah, this rumor I am so excited
I
for.
thought we had mentioned something like this before.
The original post is from Reset Error, but I'm just going to read the article from My Nintendo News. So there is leaks. So a leaker on Reset Era stated that a 2D Metroid and a traditional Paper Mario game is going to be coming to the Switch this year.
What is traditional Paper Mario game? Does that mean like a new Paper Mario game?
I think what that means is because Nintendo went on record stating that the Paper Mario franchise is intended to lean towards a less RPG sort of play style, whereas the Mario and Luigi franchise was going to be more to fill the RPG
More of the hardcore.
Yeah, the more like Super Mario RPG side of gameplay mechanics, because they didn't want the two to overlap, because that would be cannibalizing themselves. Well, as we know, the company that does Mario and Luigi has went bankrupt.
Right.
So they're gone. That franchise who knows what's happening with that franchise. It hasn't been successful.
Well, they don't take the franchise with them. It's just that they were the developers.
Right. But I'm
of said
saying,
franchise.
like, just the fact that the developers are gone, I doubt. And also, why would Nintendo put in their awesome developers time and effort on a franchise that hasn't been doing well, even though the games have been scoring well. Right? So my guess is now that the Mario and Luigi stuff is out, that leaves, and a lot of fans, here's the other thing, a lot of fans have been asking for the true successor to Super Mario RPG, or Super Paper Mario 2, Thousand Year Door, the sequel to that, Paper Mario 3. Let's have it. Not Super Paper Mario. That was okay, not RPG enough.
Why can't we have what's wrong with Color Splash?
Have you played A Thousand Year Door?
I want to, but everyone seems to just gloss over Color Splash like it's like the worst thing ever. It's not the worst thing ever.
No, it's not. But Thousand Year Door is one of the best RPGs.
I understand that. It is
phenomenal.
It's just in the Paper Mario series, I guess because of Thousand Year Door being so
that's exactly
dominant.
Yes.
Like Color Splash just gets cast aside.
That's exactly it. Like there are things that Color Splash does a little wrong.
Of course. I mean, but that's
not that very RPG heavy.
No, it's not. It's not. But like you said, Paper Mario series is more geared towards the casual, kind of like they're like
1,000 Year Door is like some good, legit, awesome, solid RPG. It is awesome.
The thing that Color Splash has against it is that it came out in the Wii U, and its implementation of the Wii U gamepad kind of, I don't know. I think that's the biggest thing with it.
But I think the biggest thing against it wasn't an RPG.
Right. It is an RPG. It's just not.
It's like super light RPG. It walks like a line between RPG and something else.
And what's that something else?
Super Paper Mario.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of in that envelope. Like I played through like half of Super Paper Mario, and it just got boring. There was so much dialogue in Super Paper Mario. So much dialogue.
Well, there isn't as much dialogue in Color Splash. It's more a mix between some sort of an adventure type of game and an RPG, but more adventure side of things. But as you were saying.
Yeah, 1,000 Year Door, excellent. So to me, that's where they're going to put the next Paper Mario iteration, because Color Splash, the Paper Mario franchise hasn't been doing as well as the earlier iterations, the first one and absolutely the second one. Mm-hmm. I don't know which one sales-wise is the most successful. It might be Super Paper Mario because it released on Switch, which was a huge install base.
Right.
But certainly I don't think Color Splash did as well as Super Paper Mario or Paper Mario 2 1,000 Year Door. So they're probably going to lean towards that because now the Mario RPG universe or whatever is now open. There is no cannibalism that can happen there. So there's opportunity there. And I already know that the Metroid game that in question is a Super Metroid remake made by the same people who did Samus Returns.
That would be cool.
Or, yeah, Samus Returns.
Samus Returns, Return of Samus.
It's Samus Returns. Or it could be Return of Samus. I actually don't know.
Yeah, and I think
the 2 remake.
And I think adding some of those little like tweaks that they did with Samus Returns would be awesome.
It wasn't little. It was some fundamentally good additions. Mm-hmm. The full 360 aiming.
Yep.
Awesome. It wasn't as big of a deal, but it was a really nice deal. But more importantly, that melee combat and the parry system that they have in there, solid, and it made the game faster, more aggressive, and it felt dangerous.
Yep.
It was great. The only thing that hurt that game was the creature variety was awful.
Yeah, and I think you could say that with a lot of Metroid games anyway. Creature variety.
No, Metroid games have.
Well, I'm talking 2D, not like your.
That's what I'm talking about.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think so.
Super Metroid had a lot of creature diversity.
We'll look that up. Look at the different.
I could probably count on two hands. The number of unique. I'm not counting like different colored creatures.
Yeah, I think that's what you're gonna get. It's just like different color palettes.
I'm talking about like clearly a different species rather than a palette swap. I can count the number on two hands for Metroid 2 versus Super Metroid is probably in like the 30s or 40s, if I had to guess.
I really don't want to forget. We're gonna do this after the show.
After the show,
we seem to forget a lot of these things. We got to do that.
All right, I am gonna say Super Metroid has
10.
Triple.
10.
I'm going to say
10 different enemies.
Triple the amount that Metroid 2 has.
All right, we'll see.
All right. And we're going to discard sprites, like palette swaps.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Oh boy, I hope we're not putting money on this, thank God, because I am broke.
This would be a fun little thing to get into. There was a comment about Microsoft wanting to do more Switch stuff. Expect more Microsoft exclusive stuff to come to Switch.
Really?
That's that.
I mean, recently, is it Phil Spencer and maybe some other people from Xbox went over to Japan.
Tom Phillips. This particular comment was from Tom Phillips.
Okay. Well, they went over to Japan, but not much was known as to why.
Yeah.
So maybe they're trying to get some first-party things going on.
It was to visit Nintendo. And also, they're doing a big push with their, or they're going to do a big push with their streaming service. Mm-hmm. And the Switch is prime for something like that. If they can get
with xCloud?
Yeah, xCloud.
Yeah.
If they could get that streaming service to run legitimately on the Switch, are you kidding me? That means...
That opens up the door.
That opens up the door for all, that's how Cyberpunk 2077 will be on Switch. That is how.
But that's game, and that is game streaming.
Yeah, but there is a fundamental flaw with the Switch's networking capabilities.
It's not as robust.
It's not a strong Wi-Fi signal.
No.
So thankfully I have the USB
The dongle. Watch your
to
mouth.
sort of LAN cable it up.
This is a kid show guy. Okay.
You said dongle.
I did say dongle. Well, that's because I'm in the biz. Well, we are in the biz, right? Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, that'd be nice to see some Microsoft product other than a Minecraft or Cuphead. That's currently their first party games on. Well, not Minecraft is no longer first party, but it's owned by Microsoft.
Well, also that Ori. Ori and the Blind Force is out right now on Switch. Excellent game, very Metroid-like. And then the new one, the sequel, is coming out sometime this year. Mm-hmm. That can run on Switch, no question about it.
Sure.
The first one can. The second one can
Should be able to. Yeah, right.
If Wolfenstein 2 can run on Switch,
that's like the benchment right now. Is Wolfenstein 2?
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's a good looking game.
I kind of want to play that, but I still got to play Astral Chain.
Astral Chain.
You know what? And I had said when there was a price drop, I was going to get it, and I totally missed out on one. It was $30.
What?
I missed out on it.
And you didn't get it?
I missed out on it because I was like, I'll just wait for. Well, here's the story. Okay, so Amazon UK had it for $30, ships anywhere or ships to the US. I didn't do it because I'm like, all right, I'll just wait for that to happen in the US.
Yeah.
Never happened. Totally missed out in the UK version.
Wow.
So it was $30. I could have gotten it. I mean, obviously it would have been.
It's region free, right?
I know that.
And
I just figured, I'm like, that sale will come over here.
So what are they charging for it right now?
It's like easily $40, maybe $50.
Yeah, because when that game first released,
it was a full price game.
It was, but if you got it from Walmart physically, if you went into the Walmart store, it was $10 off.
Right.
And that's what I did.
Yeah.
Same thing for Fire Emblem too.
Right. No, they seem to be doing that.
Off thing.
Kind of because Amazon's not doing the discount anymore.
Look, if Walmart continues to do that, I will go there every single time to pick up these day one.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be their thing.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
But yeah, I totally
missed the game anyway.
Right, you're getting the game, but I totally missed out on Astral Chain for $30.
Man, that is the sale you're waiting for too.
I'm a dum-dum.
Yeah.
I know a few people that picked up on it too. And I'm going to be patient. It's going to come here. And it never did. We did kind of touch up on this with Bioshock Collection coming over. Now, do they have a time frame on that? Is that also kind of March, April-ish?
Well, let's take a very quick look. I'm hoping it's coming out. It would be nice if it came out in February. Because that's pretty much exactly when I would want to pick it up. I'm going to have to zoom in on this.
And you think this is one of those things that were kind of maybe scheduled for an indie or an indie direct?
Yeah, it's listed right now for, what?
Well, these are
unlisted.
ratings.
Okay, yeah. So there is no official date. It's a little loose.
But it is coming.
But it's coming. My guess is... when the inevitable direct happens, this will be one of those and also one last thing.
I mean, and some of these things are primed for available now.
And BioShock. Have you played any of the BioShocks or any of the Shock games?
I played the first BioShock, and it actually was a little terrifying.
Yeah. Did you? So you never played? So one of the best RPGs of all time.
Let's not throw that word around like it's like nothing, It's legitimately one of the best on PC. Okay.
Is System Shock 2.
System Shock, okay.
2.
Dos.
It's very important because the first one, old. Second one, old, but bearable.
But bearable and apparently best?
Oh, way better. Way better. And BioShock is basically simplified System Shock 2.
Okay.
It kind of removes a lot of the RPG. So if you were to take BioShock and add in the more RPG elements that you would want,
it would be System Shock.
It would be System Shock 2. System Shock 2 is phenomenal, but the Shock series, they still have the essence of System Shock 2 in there. that DNA is still kind of in there, more or less. Less on the RPG side, but man, like, don't disregard these because they are first-person shooter-esque games. Because if you like RPGs, actiony RPGs, or like Elder Scrolls style games, you're probably gonna like Bioshock if you've only heard about it and never played any of them.
I don't think I was ready for it. I think that was my problem. Yeah. Because like I said, it almost had that survival horror type of feel to it. So I was a little scared.
Yeah, that's very much System Shock 2 is like survival horror RPG. The shooter elements were not good.
Right.
But they were good for the time. But yeah, it's quite something.
I was too scared. Too scared to move on. I don't know what my problem was. And then now, the last of the news.
Well, you want to quickly mention this?
You can quickly mention that.
Yeah. 2019. So NPD sales data came out. You can actually see a video from Matt Piscatella, I think his name is.
Watch your mouth.
That's his last name.
Oh, sorry.
He does like monthly videos on his YouTube channel for reporting on the some of the NPD results, and he also did like a summary stuff. It might have been posted on his Twitter account or whatever. So follow him or his YouTube stuff. And yeah, turns out the Switch dominated the entire year of 2019, dominated the holiday season, dominated December in particular, just dominated the whole year. And was the only console, and kind of expectantly, to have a positive growth. Mm-hmm. And also, not only was the growth positive, whereas the other consoles regarding their like the amount of consoles that they sold is less this year than what it was the prior year. Yep. Whereas Switch, it was more this year than the prior year. The growth amount was higher than what it was the prior year, which means an upward trajectory of sales, which means the growth is increasing. The growth rate is increasing on the sales, which means that the total sales of consoles, the total sales of units is picking up momentum, and it's continuing to pick up momentum. And that's an important thing because developers pay attention to these sales numbers.
Well, I mean, we're also at the kind of in the middle of the Switch's generation cycle, whereas Xbox and PlayStation, they're at the end of their life cycle.
Yep.
I also want to say that if you're watching the video version of this, your hand movement, when you start talking about NPD numbers, like you become like some sort of like orchestral conductor. You got angles and figures with your hands. It's unbelievable. I thought you were gonna hurt yourself.
I played too many Wii games. Wii Music just ruined me.
But yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense, right? Because like I said, you got generation life cycles at their end, then you got the Switch kind of in the middle of things, kind of, so yeah, it totally makes sense. Yep. Now for the last bit of news.
Last bit.
Genshin Impact. Yeah. Now this story actually, I forget what conference it was. But man, they had a lot of
hate
because of this game being essentially a Breath of the Wild clone. Now, I say clone. It's got a totally different protagonist. But the aesthetic as far as the environment, is essentially or looks very similar to Breath of the Wild.
I don't know. I'm looking at an updated trailer. A very short trailer at that.
No, that's a very... If you watch any sort of gameplay, you definitely get that feel. It's got the same sort of stamina and heart.
Oh, does it?
Yes. It's got the very similar mini-map. It does some things different. Actually, I don't mind the aesthetic, and some of that maybe is because it reminds me so much of Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
But... And I think this was a Chinese developer where copyright rules don't really apply there.
Yep.
But
a spirit orb.
But it looks okay.
Yeah.
It looks okay. And again, like I said, most of that is probably because it's very reminiscent of Breath of the Wild.
It looks very empty. the world itself.
Like Breath of the Wild.
No, Breath of the Wild had like little nooks and crannies. Like it was like
attempted exploration.
Yeah, it was like deviously. It looked empty, but it was devious about its look because it wasn't actually empty. It was actually pretty jam-packed with stuff.
A lot of different stuff, sure. So that is Genshin Impact. I think that's already released in China.
Yeah, and so the new trailer basically announces that it's coming to Switch and PS4 and probably some other stuff.
Yep,
as well.
and I'm sure it'll have its backlash. Now I don't know if they have or if they will get any sort of copyright anything with this. I have no idea.
Nah, they're not.
You think they're safe?
Yeah, they're. So when it comes to like copyright stuff, it's mostly like art, something that's visual. You cannot. It's very, very hard or near impossible to copy gameplay elements. That's where you get into the realm of patents and patent protection. You have to be very specific. And down to like sort of like how the code is executed,
right?
Something like that.
Yeah, I've seen some things that have gone to court because of code, and I think some of it was Bethesda too. But yeah, I mean,
wow, yeah, this, it's obviously copying from Breath of the Wild, but yeah, there's no. Oh wow, it's even doing the set the grass on fire stuff.
Yep.
This
water elementals there.
Man,
what are they called? The chub, whatever.
It's a little painful to see the amount of blatant ripoff that this is, but when it comes to copyright protection and stuff like that, they're in the clear.
Yeah.
I don't see anything here. They would have to use assets from Breath of the Wild, and they're not.
They're not using
copying
assets.
Design, and that's fine to copy design for the most part. Unless Nintendo did something truly unique, and they would have to file a patent ahead of time, and they would have to. The big kicker is they have to wait for patent approval and stuff like that. So,
right,
yeah, they're in the clear.
Who knows? Maybe it's a good game. I'll have to watch that video review.
Look, they're copying one of the best games of all time.
But I mean, you can copy
actually the best game of all time. So they only have down to go from here.
But yeah, Genshin Impact is, I don't know when they're set to come, but yeah, just take a look at that game. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
That is going to do it for news for today. We don't have any listener questions, but if you did have any listener questions, you can email us at podcast@switchrpg.com, or you can go on a Discord server, go into the podcast channel, put in a question if you have any.
And you should send them to us, because I actually like the questions that we get from the readers. It makes us scratch our heads a whole lot.
And I can't be scratching my head too much. I got no hair. But yeah, we very much like those questions. Yeah. Now, moving on to some upcoming RPGs. January 23rd, we have Sinless. I believe Sinless is a bit graphic type of game that's... Oh, man, how do I even explain this game? Take a look at Sinless. It's not for me, but it doesn't mean like it's a bad game. There's a lot of games that aren't for me. I don't know that is it.
Is this looking like it?
I don't think so. That's a Sinless 2, but it could be. Maybe I'm thinking of a very different game.
I think this is Sinless.
Okay. Well, it looks like some sort of a visual novel.
Yeah, I was about to say a visual novel.
Kind of a postmodern type of visual novel.
Pseudo cyberpunky.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I was off on the big graphic. I must be thinking of something else. I'm not sure. Then we have January 24th, Worlds of Magic Planar Conquest. This is a tactical RPG from the mobile universe. We do have someone from the staff reviewing this game. From what I've been told, they're not so fond of it. The controls are kind of bad, and the combat is kind of not there either. So, take that for what it's worth, but it's called Worlds of Magic Planar Conquest, and I believe it originally was a mobile game. Not to say that that's bad, but it's kind of got your...
Oh, yeah, it's rocking that Fire Emblem graphics.
It's got the Fire Emblem Battlefield. But like I had said, they were having a tough time with controls with this game. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's the...
That is a lot of tabs on a spell book. Oh, man, that text box. Why would you want to put that in there? At what point is that information actually useful?
So yeah, what Johnny is talking about is he's watching a video.
Yeah, I'm watching a video of this game, and there's a... MMOs do this a whole lot, where they'll put up a text box of the combat log, and it'll show like damage numbers, like Sword Wielder 2 dealt 10 damage to enemy unit 3 or
I'm
whatever.
surprised you don't like that. I mean, I don't think it's necessary.
Not for a console game.
But
it looks like it's potentially a default thing that's on display.
Right.
Hide it. I am
Make
all
it
in
an
favor.
option.
Yeah, exactly. Make it an option. Hide it at first. Let the hardcore enable the bells and whistles that they want. But for the most part, combat logs are pointless. MMOs, useful. Because it helps you figure out like mechanics, right? If you're trying to puzzle solve a raid boss or something like that, combat logs are great for that. But for a game like this, like if you have to have the user review the combat logs, then you have made a very unintuitive game presentation.
Well, I think maybe it's the issue with game presentation, or maybe it's just because they see it done everywhere, and that's kind of what they're doing.
Absolutely. Most of the bad stuff that gets done in games is because they're not thinking. They apply monkey see, monkey do, and
right.
Game design instead of thinking from the perspective of, hey, yes, all these other games did it this way. We'll just do what they do. Instead, what they should be thinking is, these other games did this. Is that right or is that wrong?
Can we either improve it or just get rid of it?
And should we even follow that for our own game?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it may not be necessary.
No, you should iterate many, many times and think that the things that are being done aren't the correct thing that you should do.
So that is Worlds of Magic Planar Conquest. Then January 30th is Skell Boy, which, like I had mentioned, we are doing an AMA on our Discord. I'm currently playing it on the YouTube channel as well. And we are reviewing it on the site. Then we have Aviary Attorney. Now, this is actually a very different looking game.
Yep.
It looks like a novel, basically. It's got that I don't even know what you would call it.
It's got a lithograph art style.
Yeah, lithograph art style. But it's mostly just dialogue choices. I don't think there's any combat in this game. I believe everything is voiced. And the characters are all, they're all animals.
They're all birds.
They're all birds.
Or avians.
Avians. Yes. Aviary Attorney.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's hawks and crows and
chickens.
Roosters.
So, yeah, it's a very different game. I mean, visually. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen
it looks like it has a hub element to it. They're probably riffing on Ace
Attorney?
Ace Attorney.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I never played any of those games, so...
This actually, simple gameplay-ish to a certain extent so far from what we're seeing, but it's done presentation-wise very well. Mm-hmm. So, if you like Ace Attorney games, I would definitely keep my eye open on that one.
Aviary Attorney. Definitive edition.
Yeah.
So that would lead me to believe that there was like some DLC involved in this, or like in a previous release or something.
The naming of it is a little like sketchy because they are like clearly spoofing really hard on Ace Attorney.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, and then we have our main topic.
Yeah.
Now, we've actually have a couple of main topics. I actually want to divulge because I want to talk about this next week. About our next triple R. I've done triple R with other things, but I want to finally get, because we've had this on the back burner for such a long time.
Yeah.
So our triple R is remake, remaster, or refuse, and the 3 games are Dawn of Mana, Legend of Mana, and Children of Mana.
Yep.
So we're just going to put that out there. I want to see some discussion out there as to what you guys would do. Would you remake, remaster? Oh, what games would you remake, remaster, or just get rid of altogether?
Of those 3 specifically.
Of those 3, Dawn of Mana, Legend of Mana, and Children of Mana.
And if you don't remember, Legend of Mana
Don't show your hand.
Oh, sorry. Legend of Mana was a PlayStation game.
I'm not talking physical hands. I'm just saying, because I want to discuss this.
Oh, I see. The metaphorical.
Metaphorical hands. You can show your hands.
Okay.
Show them off. Show them
I
proud.
can't talk otherwise.
Right.
But yeah, that was a PlayStation game, Legend of Mana.
Yes.
Dawn of Mana was a PS2.
PS2.
And what was the other one?
Children of Mana.
Children of Mana. That was a remake of the very first, right? Am I getting?
Yes, Final Fantasy II Adventures.
Yes, on the Game Boy.
Yep.
Game Boy, which was actually the first of Mana game.
Yes, that's the OG, as some would say.
And they remade it for, why does it say DS? I could have sworn that was on Game Boy Advance. Children of Mana?
Children of Mana? No. Is it Heroes of Mana that was DS?
Oh, Sword of Mana was Game Boy Advance.
That's the Sword of Mana. Yeah, but what we want to know is what you guys would do.
Yep. So these 3 games, in particular, which one would you remake, remaster,
or refuse? Just get rid of altogether.
Yeah. So refuse is, don't touch it, just ignore it, right?
Right.
To define remaster, all that means is don't touch it gameplay wise. Keep it the same, just HD graphics.
Like what they're doing with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition.
Exactly. And remake,
just a port.
Give it the Resident Evil treatment. That's not a port.
No, okay.
I remake as the big
yes.
effort.
Yes. So you're talking Trials of Mana, that's real
Trials of Mana, exactly.
As well as Resident Evil 2.
Yeah. Or those are the best examples.
Yeah, those are the 2 that we could think of right now. So we've had that on the back burner, I think, for at least 4-5 episodes. I want to get it out there. I'll put it out on Twitter, see what your thoughts are, and we'll discuss hopefully next episode.
Yeah.
But for this episode, we want to talk about some MMOs. It's been a while since I've gotten into MMOs.
MMORPGs.
MMORPG, yes. Sorry, I shortened that up a little bit.
Well,
like all the time.
Would you consider World of Tanks an MMORPG?
It is just an MMO, massively multiplayer online game.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know what kind of game you're. Okay, fine.
So we're specifically talking MMORPG.
My apologies. Yes, MMORPGs. Okay. There was a recent article, Ben, on our site. He had some of the things he'd like to see that are in MMOs, commonly in MMOs. He wants to see them brought into single-player RPGs, and most of them are probably maybe already in there. But most of all, I think they all kind of make sense. He wants to see some rewarding, resourceful rewarding resource gathering. He wants to also see some type of meaningful crafting, and we'll get into each one of those things in a little bit. And then he also wants to see some kind of rare monsters / kind of events brought over. Again, he wants to see those type of things brought into MMOs, some of which may already be there. He mentioned a few things, mostly with Final Fantasy 11, which I have zero experience with.
Yeah, and it, to kind of reiterate, it's to see those elements incorporated more into the single player RPG experiences.
Right. So those are some of the things that he would like to see. Now, we were discussing before we got on here, what were some of the things we would want to see brought over into single player RPGs?
More importantly, the things that are worthwhile to bring over,
sure, that
are unique or exclusive to MMORPGs.
Right. And
yeah, what we kind of got to, or at least the very first thing that blurred out of my mouth was just the whole aspect of multiplayer.
Well, and that's the thing. So you're wanting to bring an aspect of a massive multiplayer game into a single player. You're just bringing over multiplayer. So I mean, that kind of defeats the entire purpose of it. But when you do that, you can add on so many different things.
And in my eyes, that is the only thing that truly separates a single player traditional, RPG of sorts, not even traditional, just a single player RPG experience from an MMO. That's like the key magic. That's like the secret sauce that clearly separates the two. Because with that aspect of multiplayer, and I'm not talking about like 4-player co-op, I'm talking, more than that, like, 30, 40, 100, 200, 500 on a server, that type of experience. That is the secret sauce that's clearly missing that you do not get from a console or whatever single player style RPG. You miss that. And with that is a whole slew of stuff. Raid bosses and coordination, guilds, interacting with people, just the community stuff. Player-driven economy systems.
I think that's one of the... If we were to bring anything over from the MMO world... Sorry, I'm going to say MMO, okay?
Yes. No, we can shorten it.
Okay, now we can shorten it? All right, cool. If there was one thing that we could bring over from the MMO world to the single-player world, I think a player-driven economy would be the thing. But how in the world do you even do that? Like, how do you bring in a player-driven economy into a single-player game?
You make an MMO.
Right. So, I mean...
You can't bring it into a single-player game. They've tried. It's called Diablo 3. And...
Right. And they totally... People took it either took advantage of it or it was just broken.
Yeah, the people that took advantage of it was...
You.
No, the Blizzard team.
Yes.
Like, Blizzard took advantage of it on the behalf of the players. So the players were exploited.
Doing all the work and...
Well, Blizzard made it required for people to spend money to get good gear to actually have meaningful progression to your character when that was never a thing in prior Diablo games.
But that's also...
And they charged a premium for it.
So that's a player-driven economy with literal money. I'm talking just in-game. It's just... I don't even know that could happen.
Right, yeah.
But we actually... You brought up a game that I had never played before.
Yep.
That has some of these aspects that Ben was talking about. It has a meaningful, kind of like a currency system or not currency system. Oh, geez, what is the word I'm looking for?
A player-driven economy?
Yes. It has a player-driven economy.
Like fully player-driven economy.
Like a for real one. No. And as well as a something that I'd like to see in single-player games, and we kind of do, is kind of like a classless kind of system. Right? I think we also discussed that. But with Star Wars Galaxy, you would mention that they kind of have a player, or had.
That was pretty much the premise of that MMO. It was super experimental. It had issues, lots of bugs and server connectivity issues and stuff like that. But you can't fault its ambition, and it was ambitious. And what they had was they had this economy, this completely player-driven economy, and perhaps other MMOs like Eve has this. I haven't played Eve. I've played a bunch of MMOs. I've played Final Fantasy 11. I've played Star Wars Galaxies. I've played another one called Beyond Earth. I don't know. It's this galaxy exploration. You're not really an avatar, although you do have an avatar. Your avatar is actually a spaceship, but you do have a person, but you're really just flying your ship around. World of Warcraft, other ones. But Star Wars Galaxies, it's every player could have a couple of specialties, and some players were good at gathering up raw resources, and that would then be traded for other players who had access to other things. So it was like very barter heavy.
Yeah, bartering
and
system.
The reason why is because the person that would, let's say you wanted a house, and you could take this item that would auto-populate a house, and you could put it pretty much anywhere on a planet. You could go to a different planet, buy a house on planet A, fly over, teleport to planet B, and plop down a house anywhere. You did not need to go to a designated, this is your house area. We have designated for you, and when you go into your house, you enter this new zone. You zone into it, right? It wasn't that. It was part of the world itself. So when you plop down that house, it is now persistent throughout the world. Other players can interact with your persistently placed house. That was cool. But in order to make this house item, which I believe the architect was the job class specialty, whatever they called it back then, they needed a bunch of components, blueprints, or whatever, in order to make that final plop down the house object. And that was made by engineer classes that specialize in engineering, woodworking, whatever, like other classes that were then provided by other classes that gathered the raw materials and resources and stuff like that. So you had a whole lot of kind of simulating a realistic real world economy, or at least an early iteration of a real world economy, where it was all very barter heavy, barter driven, of trading of these resources, because no one was able to by themselves make the items that they needed for stuff like better weapons, better armor, better there was an armor smith, there was a weaponsmith, right? Stuff like that. So you had to rely on other players to make the things that you needed, which means you were constantly interacting with people. You're doing shouts. You're looking at.
You're a salesperson, essentially.
You were a salesperson, or you were a customer looking around, shopping for other salespeople, and that led to a very interesting very much player-driven economy thing. There were some things that were service jobs. I played as a dancer / musician.
You were in the service industry.
Yeah, and the way I made my I forgot what the currency was, but it was purely from tips from other players. Yeah. So it was a very unique experimental thing. Now, in order to do that, in order to get something like that into a single player game,
offline. Let's just say offline. How the heck do you do that?
You can't. Because you need the multiplayer stuff. So a lot of
if there
the
could
secret
be
sauce,
if there
right?
could be some developer who just he scripts this thing out so perfect and in such a way that it just works. If they could just somehow make that work into a single player RPG, that would be phenomenal. I think that would be cool.
Well, it wouldn't be a player driven economy, though.
No, I mean, but something similar, to that.
Yeah.
I mean, could it be where it's not so massively multiplayer, but in my game, okay, whatever game it is, in my game, I'm a crafter, but I could also play the regular RPG game. But in this game, I craft. All I do is make. I'm a carpenter. Okay, so I just make a lot of wooden materials, but I can also sell it online or some component. It's not an MMO per se, but there could be some sort of economy that way.
Yeah. Well,
say for example, you take Stardew Valley. I know that's one that you mentioned, right? So I got this farm that I'm wasting my life with, trying to just keep up. I got all these turnips. Now I can trade all these turnips, put them in on an auction house, not a Diablo auction house, but some sort of online auction house. You could potentially work in a player-driven economy that way.
Yeah, you can. It's technically already done in Animal Crossing, where, for example, your village doesn't have access to most of the fruits from fruit trees, and other people's villages do. And you would trade, send an email or not an email, but a mail,
notice or whatever,
with the fruit inside the mail. Over to some other player's village, some other player, they would get it, and now they would, lo and behold, have access, if they were smart and buried that fruit, they would have access to that unique fruit tree that they can now grow on their place.
Is there some sort of saying, all right, I'm going to give you these 10 apples, but I want I don't know, 4 logs or whatever.
Yeah, but that discussion would happen outside of the game.
Okay, or I think it could, something like that could be in, within the game. But then you could have some sort of player-driven economy that way.
It would be much slower though if you were to do something
yeah.
like that. So what you would do is you say, "Hey, I have access to these things." You post it on some sort of kind of like a bulletin board system.
Yeah, I say auction house, but yeah,
slower. Instead of it being very fast and rapid, like a MMO has their economies, it would be a much slower one where you're posting something on a bulletin board and other players post their items and sort of prices or whatever, what they're looking for in exchange onto that same bulletin board. But at that point, you're getting into an auction house system.
Yep. And that's essentially, or maybe you could counter offer or say, no, I'm going to give you this or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the way to maybe potentially get some sort of an auction house. You could do it with a standard standard RPG, say in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, if they had that sort of system, trading weapons or whatever, something.
Well, we don't want an auction house system in our single player games. I don't want it.
Well, I'm just talking for people who want maybe a player-driven economy. That would be the one way to do it.
To get it without the multiplayer aspect is pointless. It's the multiplayer aspect that makes that interesting. It's not the nature of having
prices. It's the interaction with people. I totally understand that.
The unique roles that those people can do that you can't do, so you have to rely on them to provide the services. But even then, you get into the people that are going to exploit the system, roll 10 characters, and automate factory farm the hell out of whatever resource that
I don't want to get into what you've done in the past.
That wasn't me. That is some of the aspects that break these MMO games.
Right. No, and I totally understand that happens. Going into some sort of a raid boss or some sort of kind of like a rare monster type of thing. You had mentioned, and I totally missed this. I don't know how I missed this, but say for example in Diablo or Diablo 4, and again I missed this aspect. I totally didn't see it. So there could potentially be where you have your 4-player co-op or 4-person party, and you're doing your own thing, and then an event happens or a raid boss happens.
I forgot what it's called, like a world. Let's just call it a world monster, world boss.
Okay, and then any people online or whatever would also see this happening, and then you can all converge
at the same area, and then all of their separate sort of
instances.
I forgot what they call it. Not threads, but like fractures or whatever.
Okay.
Whatever. They would merge together and they would all populate into each other's game. So there are different splinters, whatever it is that they call it, of hey, me and my party of 3 friends or whatever will merge into the world of someone else. So all these players are going to meet up at a certain spot within the world, and then the servers will connect those players seamlessly, such that now you went from just 4 players smashing a bunch of monsters to 16, I don't know how many, but let's say 16 players smashing one big giant world boss for a very temporary event that will probably take 10, 15, 20 minutes to do, and then it's over.
That does essentially bring you into MMO territory.
Yes.
But I mean, it's there in a, for the most part, is a not a single player, but a more traditional, just offline.
Well, once again, that is the thing that I'm talking about when I say what needs to be brought over from into the single player
is multiplayer.
Is the multiplayer.
Right. But then that brings you into something.
Because when it comes down to like killing some random non-required, big bad that's running around the world, that is a very epic level big bad. That's been in RPGs forever.
Right. Yeah. No, that's definitely been. But what I would be really interested in is more like kind of like secretive, like rare monsters. Like
that's been in MMOs
triggered
forever.
But no, it has been. But I want to see more of that.
Yes. More of that would be nice. Like a lot of like uniques, like that's not new. That's been
definitely
done.
No.
It's first been done in single player RPGs, and then it got into MMOs. Like it's not a lot of the stuff that's being done in MMOs aren't unique. A lot of the stuff that's being done in MMOs that MMOs have owned as like, their thing has actually already been done in single players. They're just borrowing from one another, except that MMOs borrow way more from single players.
Right. They have the ability to take a little bit of a certain aspect of a single player experience and kind of turn it on itself. But they do borrow originally from that. Yeah.
But the thing that they're turning on itself is the MMO, the multiplayer spin. Mm-hmm. And that is what makes MMOs truly unique. So, if we were to take these MMO elements and the ones that we could take to incorporate into our single player games, well, if it isn't multiplayer, then there's kind of nothing to take.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it all done before.
Right.
There's nothing unique in MMOs that hasn't been done in one single player RPG or the next.
It's definitely hard to find something that hasn't been done before. But there are definitely some unique aspects that MMOs have kind of developed on that I would like to see kind of brought over. But
I can't think of any. I honestly can't think of any because there are, and I could think of lots of single player stuff that cannot be done in MMOs. Tons. For example, just Radiant Historia. That is not being done in MMOs.
No, you definitely can't do that.
Mass Effect. Probably could, maybe, but I don't see it happening, and I haven't seen it happen.
No, that'd be hard because of all the different dialogue choices that take you different places.
That's what I'm getting at. There's like way more stuff that's being done in single-player games that MMOs just haven't done or can't do.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah, take a look at that article. Are there any aspects of MMOs you'd like to see in single-player games? But that is going to do it for today, guys.
Woo, that was a whopper, man. I thought this was going to be quick.
I was hoping. I survived.
You did survive.
I was only hoping because I thought for sure I was going to just be coughing all over you. But
not a single cough.
There was a couple I held back on where I had to make you work a little bit.
You had some magic like fluid juice in there.
That's just coffee.
That's just coffee. It is coffee. Magic.
It is very much magical. So yeah, that's going to wrap up today's episode for the Switchrpg podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to everyone who wanted to send in their questions but didn't. Keep them coming. Remember, you can listen to the show each and every week at switchrpg.com, and you can subscribe on your favorite podcast app. If you listen on an app, don't forget to leave us a rating and review. We want to climb up those charts. You do this to me every single time. So your support would be amazing. And finally, remember, head over to switchrpg.com for all your RPG needs on the Nintendo Switch. Until next time, peace out.